Alright, so before I get started, I just wanted to mention real quick that I'm actually recording this video with the original Zoom Q2n. And I got the audio out and the HDMI out. And I'm sending the signal over to my TV over here. And what I'm doing is I'm capturing it using one of my gaming capture devices there. HDMI Out gives me close to 60 frames. It's pretty lightweight, but it has decent weight. It doesn't feel cheap, although most of it is plastic, with the exception of the grating here that goes around the XY mic. Overall, this is a plastic build. You know, you can hear it just by handling the camera. So it doesn't exactly sound the greatest build, but overall it doesn't feel that bad. Audio. So this camera has the exact same XY mic as the previous model. So as far as audio goes, you're not getting anything better. Here is the same dial. Generally I keep it on 8 for my gain settings, which adjusts the sensitivity here on these mics, but also adds a little bit of white noise. So it's basically a amplifier. So you can adjust the low cut settings from off to 80 Hertz, 120, 160. I've done a little test wearing headphones, and when you adjust the low cut, it does remove a little bit of background noise, but it's not 100%. So here's your audio button. It goes from 44.1 kilohertz at 16-bit to 48, 24-bit, and 96K at 24-bit. I keep it on the 96, but some of you may need to drop it down one because Windows does not necessarily like the highest audio quality. So if you're using an iPhone, an iPad, or a MacBook, you're not going to have any issues, but Windows users might need to update your codec. The audio will still be there in your recording, but it may not be compatible with the device trying to play it back. There's also some auto gain presets such as concert, solo, and meeting. Really, I just leave it off because those presets will disable your dial knob here, and all that is a preset for a certain number. There is volume control on your headphone out, so when you are monitoring your audio out, if it's too loud, you can lower the volume. I usually keep it around 20 to 25 typically. It goes all the way up from 0 to 30. So here, I'll leave it off and I'll show you. I'll plug it in. It says external in, but it doesn't work. You see nothing on the little dial there, right? So you go to settings, plug-in power. Plug-in power, I used to think it was for the USB to power the camera, but it's not. It is for mic plug-in power. So you turn that on, and boom. There you go. It works now. Some of you may ask, is once you plug in an external, the built-in internal microphones are shut off by default, so you cannot have both. I figured some of you may want to know whether you can do that or not. You cannot, unfortunately. This bypasses it. But all of your audio settings such as low cut and quality and gain and your dial, all of that still applies to the mic line output, line input as well. So you can adjust your settings on that. And if you plug in an external microphone, you can still monitor live using headphones. You can turn the camera off and use this as a digital recorder, even if you use headphone out to monitor, and if you use a microphone in, external microphone, you can still use this to record. It will record in whatever audio quality you set it at in a WAV file type. You can USB this into your computer and use it as a microphone only instead of a webcam. But if you do live podcast, you can use Facebook Live, OBS, and stuff like that, and you can get great audio and 720p video. Let's go to the ceiling fan here, see how well it copes with the lighting. HDMI Out. You can micro HDMI out. You're recording a file. You can actually send the HDMI out to a TV, to a field monitor, whatever you want. You can send the video signal and audio through micro HDMI out while you're recording. You don't even have to record. If you want to send the file out, the video and the audio, you can do that too. Just make sure you go into settings here, and then where it says power save, make sure auto power is off. So if you're going to output it, make sure you set that to off. Power save, put that on 1 minute. That just dims the screen. If you leave it on off, the screen will stay bright and it'll drain more battery. So put power save on to 1 minute, and your screen will dim, but your camera will not shut off. And another issue is if you're going to output micro HDMI to anything and you have the highest audio quality setting, the audio may not play through. Now, I've had one TV where I micro HDMI out into it, the audio wouldn't work. But my TV over here hanging on the wall, it works perfectly fine. So if you're going to play back your files, or you're going to live monitor output to a field monitor, something like that, that's just something to think about. So you might want to test it before you actually hit record. But you can do that. Now, as far as the video quality goes through HDMI, I cannot test whether it sends 4K through the micro HDMI, but I do know for sure it sends 1080p at 60 frames. See, the screen went dim? But again, I don't have my computer and any of my devices or TVs, none of them are 4K. I do have a projector and I set it to 4K and it sends the signal out, but my projector is 1080p, so I don't know if it downscaled it to 1080p or it limits it to 1080p 60 frames out of the camera. That's something that I cannot test, unfortunately, but I'm just letting you know in case that's something you want to do, because this monitor here that I have will accept 4K, but it will only display 1080p. The HDMI out latency, it's about half a second. For some of you, that's not a lot. For others, that's probably too much, especially if you're going to be out in the field. I don't know what you would use this camera for out in the field, but again, that's just something that I wanted to mention. I'm capturing this with the camera and with my Live Gamer portable by AverMedia. So again, this is going to be just a short little test just to compare what the two look like compared to each other. And there's the image over there on my TV. Just a quick look at my game room. The file type is an MOV, and it will airdrop across your iPhone, your iPad, your MacBook perfectly fine. They'll play back with the highest audio quality being there if you have MacBook. If you have Windows, I'm sure MOV will play on those, but your audio, you may need to update your audio codec, which I mentioned earlier. But a new thing that they added to this camera from the previous model, if you use a 64 gigabyte or higher, it does not have to be 4K compatible. If you use a 64 gigabyte or higher, you can record in a seamless file. So why is that good? Well, if you hit record on the camera and you want to record for 45 minutes, then when you're done, you'll get one file that may be, 15 gigabytes or whatever it is, but it'll be one file that you can work with. This lens is a 16 megapixel 150 degree fisheye wide angle lens. It is better in low light than the previous Q2n. I've done a side-by-side test. You can check that out in another video that I did and compare it for yourself. It's actually sharper under the same recording settings as well. Another thing is this camera does not take still shots. It's a 16 megapixel camera. Why can't it take a still shot? If I take a screenshot, I'm limited to the device that's taking the screenshot to its resolution. So if I'm using my MacBook over here and I take a screenshot of the video, I'm limited to, what is this, a 720p screen resolution of a screenshot versus a 16 megapixel still shot if the camera could do it, but it doesn't. So Zoom, if you're listening, update the camera. Give us a still shot option. Oh, you may have noticed that during this whole time, there's no batteries in the camera. Well, I'm powering it through a micro USB battery bank. You can use this camera as a webcam. Unfortunately, it only does 720p. Now you can use it for Facebook, you can use it for OBS. I've done a video on OBS, Open Broadcast Software, showing you how to set it up and use that. Go ahead and check out that video if you're interested. And one last thing is the accessories. So this camera actually comes with the lens hood here. The previous model did not. And this is removable and it doesn't come off very easily, which is nice, because the old model, you just bump it and that thing goes flying off. It comes with a lens cap, which doesn't fit in there very tight. See what? But it does come with the lens cap and it does come with the lens hood. But the lens hood seats very well. See that? It snaps in. And this is necessary if you have any overhead lighting. You can buy a windscreen that is made for the original model, which also fits on here perfectly fine. I'm not gonna put it on there perfect, but it does work. And if you do happen to get that that accessory kit for the previous model, it does come with one of these. It is a mic stand adapter, so you can put the camera in a mic stand. So if you don't have the camera, the old model, go ahead and get the new one. If you have the old one and you don't care about video quality that much, your main priority is audio, then you don't need to upgrade. If you have the old one and you really like the audio but you want better video, go ahead and upgrade. That's basically it, because the audio is exactly the same on both. There's no difference. So that's all I have. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe.